All right, we are live. How's it going, Marquis?
Doing great. Got a great start to the day so far. Looking forward to this conversation too, so can't complain.
Looking forward to it as well. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. So, Marquis is going to hop on today and just chat about his experience in the 12-week behavior change program. He's killed it. He's doing great things. And yeah, so I just want to say thank you again for taking some time in your schedule to come on.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Why don't you give a little intro of who you are, what you do?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Marquis. What do I do? I'm a father, husband. I work in the process improvement space. So, kind of my superpower to the world is working with businesses, helping them become more efficient, effective, improving how they work with their teams. So, that's what work looks like outside of work. I'm a bass player, musician. I live on some property and we are off grid. So, my weekends are usually spent maintaining the house, maintaining the solar panels and the batteries, and chopping wood. But that's a bit about me. Um, but where I kind of started on this journey. I mean, Maddie and I met. This would have been October of 2022, and my history and journey with fitness probably goes back to when I was 15 and I started working out. And because my metabolism was so rapid, I was able to see results really, really quickly. I was always like the pudgy kid, and I started lifting weights in high school. And within 6 weeks, I saw my body transform like I'd never seen it before. Pecs, abs, biceps, everything. I could run,
Peak testosterone. You're
yeah,
like you're on steroids.
it was all there. I was eating terribly at the time, like baconators and fries every day, but it didn't seem to matter. It would just melt off.
Right.
And so from about high school, going on through university, graduating, getting married, really just up and down. I tried different things to maintain my progress, but I get busy with work or school or, planning and then kids eventually. And, at times my fitness would suffer just because I would get busy and I would be out of my routine. And so I tried different diets from the Whole30. I did keto for a while as well and saw progress, but really the weight always came back because none of them were really sustainable. And so at the point where I met Maddie in October, I was kind of coming out of like a COVID funk where I had gotten off my routine. I didn't have the motivation. I knew that I needed a change, but I thought that I was beyond repair. Um, Everyone's got a COVID experience with mental health and what that did to us all, but mine was more or less, I'm broken, I can't get back, or at least I don't know how, and I really needed some help.
Right. So, I mean, just rewinding the tape a little bit, like
Yeah.
you are a very busy guy,
Mhm.
like to start. Would that be fair? Like, you mentioned all the stuff you're doing, you're very busy.
Everyone's
Lots,
busy,
lots
but
going on.
the days fly by, that's for sure. Yeah.
So, how were you feeling, I guess, at this time? So it sounds like there was a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of trying different things. You know, I remember that time. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
What was the feeling that you felt around that time? That we started talking, and I guess what was the thing that was like, I'll give this a try with this guy.
Yeah. I was really feeling defeated. I felt like, okay, this is just who I am now, right? Come through 2 years of not working out, trying to get back into it, and great for 2 or 3 weeks, and then there'd be an interruption, and I'd get off track again. So I was kind of feeling like, man, like how can I do this? I don't have workout partners in the gym anymore. I don't have a gym close to me that I can get to, or I am so busy. Work is so hectic. I'm not prioritizing my fitness. And really, what it was is that like work always won. It always came first. It was like the number one thing in my life. I really believe at one point I was addicted to my company. I was addicted to the work that I was doing as an owner and as a founder. And rather than getting up early and going to the gym or reading a book or taking time for myself, I would just get right into a project or get right into email. And that was easier for me than facing what was actually happening to my body. I'm staying up late, I'm eating late, overeating, not watching and being conscious of those things. And so I really felt like I was done. Like this was it for me. And what really made the difference here is I was looking for, um, I won't say a fix, but for lack of a better term, I was looking for that like solution would ultimately snap me out of this state that I was in. And I'd gone away on a trip to Mexico in October, and the weather was great. People were having a good time. There were pools, like outdoor pools, at this villa we are staying at, and I was the only person who like didn't go swimming. I was just like set. I told everyone, "No, I'm busy. I got work to do," because I was embarrassed. I didn't want to take off my clothes in front of people. And I got back home, and there were a number of other events leading up to this, but this was really the straw that broke the camel's back, was just me not feeling comfortable in my skin. Because of the work that I do, I'm very visible. I do talks, I do webinars, I'm at in-person events, I have a podcast, I'm on YouTube, and I felt myself shying away from even the camera now, taking certain angles, keeping the camera like chest up because I don't want anyone else to see what's going on down below. So I was hiding, and I was desperate for something, and I just didn't know what it was. And Maddie reached out on LinkedIn, and at the time I wasn't sure if it was an automated message or genuine, like one to one, but it triggered something. And I rarely respond to those types of outreaches, but Maddie hit a chord. And I think the bio on his LinkedIn was, "I helped time starved entrepreneurs, lose 10 to 20 pounds." And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting. That's exactly what I feel I need." And it was on this same trip to Mexico, someone looked at me and, not being disrespectful, they was just calling something out because we were talking about health and fitness. They said, "You could probably stand to lose, 30 to 40 pounds." And I was like, "Oh, funny you say that. Very bold of you." But yeah, that's where I'm at. And so when I came back home, saw the message from Maddie, we had some exchanges, and I just thought, if I'm going to do this, I need accountability. I need someone who's going to coach me. I need to talk through this with somebody, and I need to really break the habit loop that I've found myself in. And we're able to do that over several weeks, make decisions and make small changes that ultimately led me to the place that I'm at right now, where I feel like I'm fixed. I'm back on track. I've still got a ways to go in my fitness journey. I'm not done.
Sound like a dog. I'm fixed.
I'm not broken anymore. You know what I mean. But
Of
yeah,
course.
that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Well, thank you for sharing all that. I think like for guys listening, like you mentioned like confidence, and I know we've talked about like even how you want to show up as a dad and even like at work and leadership and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Could you talk just a little bit about that and just how that was, how you were feeling about that at that time?
Yeah. Um, I felt like I wasn't living up to the message that I was preaching, right? Like I said, addicted to work. I would preach on business optimization and efficiency and effectiveness in respect to systems and like operating systems. But there's like so much about that ties back to the person and mindset and like shifting that mindset. And I wasn't living up to that. I wasn't embodying what it was to have a positive mindset because I was doing damage to myself. And I'm telling my kids, "Oh, you should eat healthy. Oh, you should get outside and exercise, and let's go play basketball, or let's go for a walk." And I was preaching it to them, but I wasn't doing it myself. Or I was doing, a bad job of maintaining that consistency. And so it was difficult for me because I knew that I was bringing myself in my job and in my work, and that was beginning to define me. And um, my identity as a father and as a husband and who I am outside of that was always linked back to the position I was in. And as long as I was working hard and staying up late and moving the needle, that's all that mattered, because we were good financially. I had, more or less the freedom, quote unquote, to live life on my terms, but I always chose work. And so I wasn't living up to even my own values that I'd set out for myself. And my kids could see that. They would see how much I work, and they started to see what this was doing to my body. They would tell me that, dad's got a big tummy all the time, or that, if I hadn't worked out for a while, they would notice and they'd be like, Dad, do you even work out anymore? Right. And like those things would really, get to me. And so they're getting older. They're 7 now, and they're seeing how I'm living my life. They're seeing the decisions that I'm making. They're seeing when we go to a restaurant, I'm ordering poutine, instead of, an alternative to fries and gravy. And so it was really starting to impact like my relationship with them as well, where if I wanted them to grow up knowing what was important as far as like taking care of your physical and mental health goes, and I wasn't leading that, I knew that I was just doing, damage. And so that was also another reason why I needed to make this change, was to be a better example for them.
Right. Right. It sounds like you're feeling a bit like out of alignment there. Like you're
Yeah.
preaching one thing and not necessarily feeling like you're doing it on the other hand.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious what your experience was like in the beginning, and when we started the program, and what did you
Yeah.
think of this process after we got started? And yeah, we'll just open that up.
I was skeptical, as you know, right? I think I said to you in one of our first meetings was like, is this Matty guy gonna do this? Is he gonna pull through? Is this gonna be the thing that, snaps me out of it? And like it wasn't your responsibility to do this for me, right? Like you were an advisor, a coach, right? All of those things. But really I was skeptical, and I was fearful that I would invest, in my time and invest in my finances and come out the other end, um, not having achieved the success that I thought would have been possible when we first started. And so I really didn't know where we would go. um, I was trusting of you, but also a little reluctant to like really get started and give it all, because I had done all this before. I used to work in the fitness industry. I think we talked about this. Like everything you were telling me, like I knew or had learned at some point, had preached it to other people, as I was selling gym memberships and personal training. Like it wasn't foreign to me. I knew what I needed to do, but again, I thought I was too far gone. And so I really didn't know if it was going to work for me, until we started really getting into it. And I saw through your questions and through the approach and through the small tweaks we made week to week, um, things started to better align and really make sense, right? It started to click, and I started to understand that you weren't telling me what to do. This wasn't, here, I'm going to put together a meal plan for you. Here, I'm going to give you these workouts to do. Here, don't eat carbs. Don't eat after 8 p.m. Don't do this. Don't do that. It wasn't about that at all. Every meeting was, what do you want to achieve this week? Oh, you want to eat, less chips? Why? What's that going to do for you? Why is that important? Is that realistic for you? That was always the question. Is that realistic? Is that something you can actually commit to? Right. And so it puts you in that headspace where, sorry, I know I'm answering probably another question, but
That's
it puts
okay.
you into that headspace where it's like, yeah, Maddie's not like responsible for my success. He's there, and, is cheering me on and guiding me through, but really it's me who has to make these decisions and start to rewire his brain on like how to think about the relationship with food and exercise and healthy living. And so, um, long story short is just, yeah, I wasn't sure where we would get, but I started to see that change, and the impact it was making as we went on week to week.
I'm curious what you thought of that process too, like what you thought of it during the process,
Hmm. Um,
how you felt about it.
yeah, there were some weeks where like I wanted you to just tell me, just give me the answer and I'll do whatever you say. But you never did that. And it was frustrating. And I'm like, man, you're just gonna ask me questions and I'm gonna like respond. And I'm like, just tell me the answer. And sometimes, like, obviously you would. Like if I just didn't have the knowledge or experience, like you provide resources and you'd share your opinion. But yeah, it was frustrating sometimes, but I knew what you were doing. I knew that you wanted the onus to be on me to make the decisions. Anytime we set goals at the end of our meeting, you get me to say them back to you. There was that accountability, the weigh-ins, right? There was that whole process as well, the weekly measurements, taking progress photos, doing the exercises, talking through where I am right now, where I want to be in the future, right? Like the whole process was centered around me making better decisions, creating new connections in my brain, and really tying it back to what's right for me and like what can I do that is consistent. So the process, though it started out, I was a bit frustrated in the beginning. I was like, when's this? Like, why did I do this? It makes sense. And yeah, it really clicked. And ultimately, it was the best thing for me because I was in charge.
Was there a moment where it was like it kind of clicked where it was like, oh, this is working? Do you remember? I'm curious.
Um, yeah, I mean, where I started, I think, yeah, when I weighed in, I was 266. And I think when I started seeing like, okay, now I'm like 262, 261. And there were like weeks where I like plateaued. Like there was no change for like the first like 3 or 4 weeks, like small changes. But then when it really clicked was when I realized that because I had been putting in the time, because I went from working out 3 days a week to now 5 days a week, because I was making these small changes. And when I got to like that sub 260 mark, I was like, oh man, like all of that time, all of that like change behavior is now, turning into positive results. And I'm seeing the numbers go down. I think when this was recently, but I was scared to like wear certain clothes and be in certain environments. And recently I shared with you that I put on my belt, and usually I'd put it on like the number one or number two hole, just like depending on you know um what I'd eaten that day, or how I was feeling. And I was on a trip and I pulled my belt to hole three, hole four, and I'm like, oh man, it's still not like tight enough. Like my pants are like loose. And I pulled it to hole five, and like that's the last hole on the belt. And I'm like, I've never been able to do this before. I've had this belt for so long. I've struggled putting it on hole number two because it was like uncomfortable for me. But here I am, like this has worked. Like I've lost over 5 inches on my waist, right? Like, so there were moments leading up to that were like, this is working. Let's keep going. Let's keep doing this. But like when I saw that and I realized, man, like I can do this, and I saw that change, that was like the moment that I think I was most excited.
That's awesome, man. It it really is. It's interesting, isn't it? Like the small steps over time. You feel like you're not getting anywhere,
Yeah.
and then someday you just realize, oh, look how far I've gotten.
Yeah.
And I think like the you mentioned at the beginning, like the quick fix. I think a lot of people are stuck in that. I think that's just probably like a basic human trait. Like we just want the quick fix,
Yeah.
but especially with fitness and stuff. And when you start making those small changes, I think it's an awesome transformation to see.
No, it absolutely is. And yeah, just staying consistent to it. If I can encourage anyone that's watching this, is right, like those habits that you fell into that got you to this, bad place that you're at right now, like think about what's on the other side of that. Think about the progress you're making. Um, don't do like what I've done in the past and sabotage your progress, right? I shared with you recently, like my favorite chocolate bar is Reese's peanut butter cups, right? And like every time I would leave the house, if I was at the gas station or the convenience store, anywhere, I'd get a Reese's peanut butter cup. I just love them so much. But I was traveling for work, and I had a great day. Um, I had a workout that morning, ate well. I knew I was going to work out the next day, and I saw one in the hotel lobby. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to treat myself. It's just one, right? But I'm like, no, if I do this, what's it going to do for me? And I'm going to get up tomorrow morning. I'm going to feel bad, like physically, and then I'm going to have to go work it off. Like, what's the point? And like I was able to talk myself through that and realize like no, like I told myself that when I went on this trip I was going to do A, B, C, or D. If I deviate from that now, then I set those goals for no reason, and I'm like setting goals and lying to myself thinking that I'm going to achieve them. But like yeah, that's the biggest advice I can really share is like don't sabotage your own progress, right? Like stay true, be strong, you can do it. um, and just keep going.
I think that's a big step there. What you mentioned, like integrity in like the promises you make to yourself,
Yeah. Yep.
right? Like I set this goal. I'm not going to do this, so I'm not going to go off and do it.
Hmm.
What have you achieved, Marquis? Just for everyone watching, what I mean, kind of like the whole picture of your exercise, how much weight you lost,
Yeah.
what's changed.
Sure. Yeah. I started off dropping off my kids at school like 8:30. Then I would like drag my feet, get into the gym, and I would do like 30, 45 minutes before I had to get back home and rush to get in the shower and rush to get on calls. Um, and now I'm waking up at like 5 o'clock every morning. My I often don't even hear my alarm. I don't really need it because I'll just jump up, put my clothes on. I'm in the gym 5 days a week, from 5:30 until 6:30, doing 15 minutes cardio, stepper or treadmill, and then I'm doing heavy weights. And then I get back home and I'm back on with my day. I'm getting my kids ready with their breakfast, their lunches. Um, and then I'm getting my day ready, prepping my food and everything. And with this consistency, I've been able to lose 18 pounds since we started on October 27th, and the date is February 2nd. And I still got a little bit to go, but there's I'm trying to think like where would I have been if I didn't meet Maddie? Like what would have been the the process, like how much weight would I have gained since then if I didn't do this right now? And so yeah, having that workout routine, having my diet tight where I'm tracking my meals, I'm prepping my lunches, I'm preparing dinner, I'm not eating out 3 or 4 times in the week or ordering out because we didn't think about it or because it was the easier option. Like we're cooking meals at home, so it's really trickled over into like every area of my life. And it's because of this consistency that I was able to see these results and get down 5 inches in my waist and wear pants I haven't worn in years and shirts that I haven't worn in years. So it feels great.
It's awesome, man. Killing it. Like I said, you killed it.
I killed it. All thanks to you and me.
um, that was all you. You did all of it.
Thanks, Maddie.
I guess just to wrap up, how has it affected some of the stuff you mentioned earlier, confidence, your family, um, self-image, that sort of stuff?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think for a long time I got used to this person that I saw in the mirror, right? Like at work, I would put on my work clothes and I would become the CEO, right? And then I would take those clothes off metaphorically. And then I'm like the father at home, and my wife loves me no matter what I look like or what stage I'm at. And she's always supported me. But to hear like from her, like, you look good, right? Like I know what that means. And um, I know in her eyes, like I looked good at 260 and I still look good now. But it's helped in that way because I know that these changes I'm making, she's seeing them. I'm in places right now where people haven't seen me in months and they're like, wow, you look good. You've been working out. What's going on? And so that helps obviously to boost the confidence. I started a call the other day, and that was the first thing they said. We probably took 3 minutes talking about how much weight I've lost, right? And so it definitely feels good that other people are seeing it now. But most importantly, for myself, it allows me to walk into a room with other people and feel confident in what I look like, right? Um, to know that it looks like I value self image. It looks like I value taking care of myself. It looks like I value and prioritize health and wellness, right? As well as business and success and optimization and all those things that matter. But ultimately, right, like this person's got it centered. So that really feels good and has been a huge change for me. I'm going to be doing a photo shoot in a couple weeks for my personal brand. I've got a lot of great stuff that I'm working on through work. I got a book I'm writing, so there's going to be lots of opportunities to like get on more stages and more podcasts and more in-person events. And every time I get to step into one of those venues, I just like feel so much more like confident in my skin. And that's what's ultimately driving me among other things to like keep going.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone that was considering joining in the program?
You've thought about it for too long. If you're concerned about the money, like get that thought out of your head. You can't afford not to do this. Um, you might look at the program and look at the price and think, oh, I can spend that elsewhere, or I can do it myself, or oh, I don't need a personal trainer. This is not what that is. It's not personal training. And the truth is that if you could do it on your own, you would have done it by now. Um, and what always like rings true to me when I hear it is you are the person you are, like at your core when you're alone with your thoughts, and you know what you need to do. You know that you need to make this change, and you're fooling yourself in whatever capacity to think that you don't need the help, or you can do it on your own, or you're going to start on Monday, or you're going to start next month. You're going to buy that piece of gym equipment and you're going to have it in your basement and never use it. Like if you could have done it on your own, you would have done it already. So stop wasting time and just invest in yourself because you can't afford not to.
It's good advice. Great advice. Um, where can people find your stuff? You mentioned podcast, YouTube, the
Yeah.
book coming out. Where can people find your stuff?
Yeah. The best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there, sharing on business process optimization. I'm on so Marquis Murray, Marquis on LinkedIn. You can find me on YouTube as well. I share a lot of this stuff and do how-to videos around the tool Asana and how to use that in your work and life. I have a book coming out called Process Over Perfect. The URL is owned, but nothing's there. It's processoverperfect.com. So be on the lookout in the next several months for that. But yeah, either LinkedIn or YouTube are the best places to track me down.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Go check out his stuff. Thank you so much for coming on and taking some time out of your day. I appreciate
Welcome.
it, and wish you all the best, man.
Thanks, Maddie. Thank you so much for everything. We'll see you.